Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to the Armed Forces Virtual Race Challenge 2025, round number 7. Caesar's back on British soil, way up in Bonnie, Scotland. We were in Spa last time out, the fast and flowing, wondrous circuit in the Ardennes, and now it is the amazing roller coaster that is Knockhill. I unashamedly love this place, and I hope one day I get to see it in real life. It is such a fantastic place to drive. Very, very challenging, very short, but that does not make it an easy track or a simple track to master by any stretch. My name is Chris Buxton. I'm one of your commentators throughout tonight's festivities, once again joined by the Scottish wonder himself, the local boy this time. It's John Monroe.
You all thought we had to travel across the world to find elevation changes in the Ardennes Forest. We've got it right here. You also thought we had to go to Lime Rock to find airtime. You've got it right here. Everything's at Knockhill. We don't need to go anywhere else. Just stay at Knockhill. We'll do lots of racing here, and we'll have a blast.
I have no argument to that whatsoever. This is such a wonderful circuit, and as far as I am aware, it is the only circuit that actually allows racing in both clockwise and anti-clockwise directions without any major modifications to the circuit. I mean, there are not many places in the world. I can't think of another circuit that actually allows that by default. So that is an absolutely amazing feat in this wonderful... Look at that shot right there going through Butchers and the Chicane. What a wonderful picture that is to really accentuate the elevation change. And that is no joke. Now, I'm going to ask you, John, you've been here, you've raced here. Generally, the elevation change we see in imagery, be it sim racing or in static images, they look pretty steep, but they are much steeper in person. Is that the case here?
100%, 100%. I mean, I've had the privilege of racing the circuit both directions and sat up in the commentary box as well. And the elevation is every bit that you'd imagine and more. You're heading down that first corner through Duffus Dip and towards Leslie's. You really feel it in the pit of your stomach. And it's the same case heading up through the chicane. You know, you can't see anything. You're taking air. When you're coming down the chicane going the opposite direction, that's also a bit of a roller coaster ride, as you could probably imagine. Kind of a blind turn in, and you literally just drop down towards Butchers and McIntyre's. But yeah, I mean, it's a sensational track. There's no time to breathe around Knockhill, especially in these GT4 cars. You're flowing from one corner to the next. You barely get a chance to breathe. Obviously, the only opportunity I would say is on the back straight as you head through Hislops and run towards Taylor's hairpin. And that is a really steep, long hairpin as well. Very, very tricky to get right. Important to get the power on nice and early, but get the line right as well. And then obviously across the pit straight, which isn't that long either. So you're going to see a lot of action tonight. You're going to see a lot of tension, I think. You're going to see mistakes. We saw a lot of spins last year, and you're also going to see a lot of airtime through this very chicane that you're now seeing on your screen. There's certain lines we've been seeing throughout practice which suggest that the drivers are going to be taking a few risks through that section to try and find the ultimate pace.
And that's the thing, isn't it? Because the margins are crazy narrow. I mean, we are talking... Yeah, the slowest lap time we've seen is 55.4, so we're well under a minute. The fastest time has so far, in practice I'm referring to, is 49.7, which is not by champion-elect Ryan Martin, I will add. It's by the first man to cross 100 laps in practice. Chris Pawley, the Welshman, the number 88 Mercedes, has done over 100 laps. Two more drivers are literally just about to do it as we are speaking. So the practice session is coming to an end. There it is. David Wrench and Matty Chambers have just completed their 100th lap in practice. Absolutely bonkers numbers. But this is how the calendars look so far. We are over the halfway stage now. We started in Thruxton back in February. Back on the 12th of February, I should say. And we now head to the wonderful Scottish islands of Knockhill. Navarra next time out before we head to Donington Park. And then we see out the season on the 16th of April at Branch Hatch GP. Let's have a look at the championship standings then and how they look. Now, this is without... Oh, okay, there's the teams one. We'll look at that one. Again, we don't kind of... Not meaning any disrespect when we say we don't really look at the Royal Air Force. It's that high because there's a lot of them. That's the main reason why the Royal Air Force are so numerous in numbers. It's not one of the Royal Air Force that is championship leader, I will add. That honour belongs to Peter Plasto representing our army. He leads the way in the Aston Martin. Adam Barron in second, one of our veterans in the Porsche in second. Then it is the Martin of the Mercedes with Ryan Martin. Had a bit of a howler last time out, but bearing in mind he's had a few bad scores, so when the drop scores start kicking in, that doesn't rule it. Yeah, the fact he's had a couple of bad rounds doesn't rule him out by a long shot. Hanging on in there in third position, Chris Pawley, who's topping the timing sheets this week in fourth with 9:01. Another one of our flyboys, the RAF. Then it's Tom Stevens, one of the few representatives of our Royal Navy in his Porsche in fifth. David Wrench in his Mercedes for the Royal Air Force in sixth. Darren Berris in his Aston Martin for the Royal Air Force in seventh. With Dan Cross in representing the Army in his Mercedes in eighth. Matt Forrest in ninth in his Aston Martin, one of our veterans. And Bradley Kropp rounding out the top 10 in his Aston Martin, again, another one of our Army representatives. Now, Knockhill is a playground for the Mercs this time around. They are able to ride at those curbs, look pretty vicious, and no doubt they are. They will leave the oil sump of any unsuspecting car languishing behind it. But the Mercs seem to be able to handle the bumps a bit better than the rest. So at the moment, it does seem to be a bit of a Merc playground. But from someone that has commentated, sim raced it, and real raced it, John, give us a lowdown on Knockhill.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a roller coaster ride, which is what everyone says, but it really is. And you've just got, as I say earlier, no time to breathe. It really is just head down, jump from corner to corner. There's a lot of curb usage that I think really defines the lap time around here, especially into the first corner. It's a blind apex, very tricky to get right, and you want to ride that curb the perfect amount. If you go a little bit too much, you'll get up on two wheels and it'll ruin your momentum. If you get it just right, you hop over it and the car lands in a beautiful fashion. It allows you to just get the grip, get the fronts down, and dive through the second part, the left-hander, which is a corner that's all about, maintaining that braking zone and making sure you get the apex into the third corner, McIntyre's, to set you up. So this lap is very much about using one corner to set up the next, but keeping a high minimum speed as well. It's a momentum-based circuit as well. The corner you're looking at right now, Taylor's Hairpin, the final corner on the circuit. You come in from what we're seeing on the right here, and then heavy braking into this hairpin. As you can see, there's a lot of elevation change on this hairpin. It's actually a very long corner. So even though it is super tight, it's also a big opportunity for overtakes, and it's also a very, very important corner to get off properly when you're trying to race someone. We're going to see most of our overtaking action happening in that hairpin here today, and not just in the way in, we'll also see some, I'm sure, on the way out. This corner now you're seeing is Clark's, which is an uphill off-camber right-hander. The exit of Clark's is absolutely crucial because you carry that speed all the way down through his lops towards Taylor's hairpin. It's flat out from that point onwards, so you can also see that the exit of that corner being very important. This is the first corner we were talking about earlier, Duffus Dip, and that is the big sausage curb. You just need to hit the perfect amount of. If you hit it too much, which we will see happening today, expect to see some drivers up on two wheels flying down towards the left-hand side. But certainly action points all over the circuit, some of them for overtaking, some of them just for sheer action.
Yeah, absolutely. So we saw in the thumbnail leading up to tonight's event as Peter Plasto and his Aston Martin very much, I'm not even sure any of the rubber was on the road at the point that picture was taken. So yeah, we will be seeing cars going airborne, and we know how close the field tends to be, especially in the early parts. And this is a two-race format for tonight, so we will have a reverse grid race. Oh God, I've been looking forward to the reverse grid race here all season. I'm so looking forward to this. Right then, so we are 4.5 minutes into the qualifying session. Chris Pawley leads the way in the number 88 Mercedes once again, the 50074. Now he was into the 49s in the practice session. Car's probably a little bit heavy, tire temperatures maybe a bit different. Oops, there's someone kicking up a bit of dust on the exit of McIntyre. As we know, so the static cameras, this is Clark, I believe we're looking at. It is indeed. So through the railway straight, that's not straight in the slightest, all the way up towards Sailors. It's the hairpin, there it is. There's a really big incline that our drivers, they can go through. Ryan Martin taking an oddly wide line through Taylor's. John, why don't you take us a lap around one of Scotland's finest?
So up through the gears now towards turn one, Duffus Dip. You want to use the pit lane exit under braking, couple of gears down, and then this is the curb I'm talking about. Take just the right amount so don't get too much airtime. hold it over to the left-hand side immediately on the brakes and aiming for that apex at McIntyre's. As you can see, I've barely got enough time to talk us through it, let alone think it as a driver. More curb on the right-hander there, then you want to get the perfect line through the chicane. Martin using a lot of curb and too much gravel on the exit there. I mean, it's a blind chicane, so it's very, very tricky to get the line right. You need to basically guess where it's going to be, hope you make it, and if you run wide on the exit, well, there's not much you can do about it. And unfortunately, that's exactly what happened with Ryan Martin, so he's going to back off on this lap, and we'll have to see another attempt. But this is the run through his laps down towards Taylor's hairpin. He's going to obviously stick to the outside and do a cut back to try and... Actually, no, he's not, because he's got another car coming through that he didn't spot. And that's going to ruin Ryan Martin's next lap as well, because this is the run now onto the pit straight. But not to worry, because this lap is so short that he will have plenty more attempts at it. Maybe not 100, but still plenty more.
I mean, that was well observed as well by Ryan Martin. He could well have turned in, not realising that someone had actually committed to the apex there. So well observed by the number 86, the local boy. You said last week, John, that there's kind of eyes on... Well, there's eyes on Ryan Martin every week, let's be honest. His performances have been absolutely stellar, save for a few unfortunate moments that have kind of upset his score sheet a little bit. But yeah, this, if he's going to do anywhere, we think, do well anywhere, it should really be here. But in saying that, the local track doesn't necessarily give you too much of an advantage. It just puts that little bit more pressure on your shoulders.
Well, I think both of these things are true, sorry, Chris, in this situation, because a local driver on a local track, even in sim racing, does make a slight difference. And I always feel for some reason Scottish drivers go well at Knockhill. I don't know if it's extra practice or determination, but there's a huge amount of pressure on Ryan because of the disaster that was Spa last week. He's really got to perform for the rest of the season. You can't really afford too many more clangers, because even with drop scores, every round is kind of going to count now. He's had 2 bad rounds, so I think there is a lot of pressure on Ryan Martin's shoulders, and it's just been made worse by the fact that despite being in the best car, but looks of it, the Mercedes, Chris Pauley seems to be putting in the laps, and Chris Pauley's ahead of him right now, and he's clearly been trying very hard in practice. So yeah, I think it's going to be a really tough one for Ryan.
I agree. I think he's really going to have to work hard at it, and that's the first 49 we've got on the board now by Chris Pauley, 49.99 on the board for the Welshman. So he's already put himself 1 3/4 tenths between himself and the chasing Scotsman. So Ryan Martin winding up for another lap. That's Matt Forrest jumping into 10th position in his Aston Martin, the number 78 car. So there is going to be improvements throughout the board. There is Chris Pauley. He's got Pete Plasto has jumped up into 5th in his Aston Martin. A bit of smoke screen being kicked up from the back of Chris Pauley's car. That's Jack Trunwitt in the 24 Mercedes jumping up into 9th position. James King representing the McLaren, sole McLaren representative this week. And he's right up there inside the top 10 in 8th position. We don't have, as we were told we probably wouldn't have, we don't have Chris Boland this time around in the BMW, one of the, was sole BMW representative. We did have a second Beamer join us last week, Timothy Hastings, sadly not with us this week. Even still, 18 cars is plenty enough for this amazing little circuit, as we see. You can see just the amount of air, the amount of commitment you've got to have. You were alluding to this earlier, John. Oh, dear, that's Ryan Martin again, getting it somewhat. Oh, wow, no, it's Jakajewski, excuse me. I get a white Mercedes, picked the wrong one there, but Jakajewski getting it horribly, horribly wrong. Exactly proving your point there, John. Get a little bit too greedy through the chicane, and it is into the dust you go.
It's classic risk versus reward, really. I mean, the drivers on qualifying in particular are basically going to need to cut that chicane as much as they can get away with. Obviously, there's a bit of a question mark over track limits. We don't know exactly where the limits are. The drivers obviously will have learned where the limits are through practice, and we can see that they're pretty lenient through that chicane, because there are a few drivers that are taking what I would describe as non-racing circuit lines through the chicane. But in qualifying, obviously, the risk is that you get a faster lap time if it goes well. If you land badly, get a bad bounce, you're probably off into the gravel. And we've already seen a few of our top drivers ending up in the gravel, but because it's qualifying, you can get away with that. You can do it a few times. If you just get one good lap in, then you're absolutely fine. The problem is during the race, Chris, because obviously if that happens during the race, you get a bad bounce, you get a bad landing, you're going to lose a load of momentum on the exit, or you're going to get a slowdown penalty for cutting the track, or maybe even a drive-through. Who knows if drivers cut too often. So, it's going to be far more important in the race to keep an eye on that and to be careful with it. And I also think, at Knockhill, it's such a tricky place to actually overtake. If you can get your exit right every time out of Clark's and defend into Taylor's hairpin, it's very hard to be overtaken around Knockhill, as long as you're smooth and you drive well. We saw it last season with the likes of Benjamin Cullen defending really, really well. But if you make that mistake on the exit of the chicane, end up in the gravel, we will see plenty of overtaking chances because of that. So really, it's one of these tracks where if you can avoid mistakes, you'll do well. If you qualify well, that is, and you avoid mistakes, you'll do well. Whereas if you push too hard and make mistakes in the race, even if you've got faster pace than those ahead of you, you're actually more likely to fall backwards.
Is slipstream going to be an awful big factor here? The straights aren't particularly long, so I'm going to hazard a guess that slipstream isn't really going to play too much of a part here.
I would say no. I mean, you can definitely use the slipstream if you get a good run on the exit of, for example, Clark's. You can use it to get a slingshot towards Taylor's hairpin. And then on the pit straight, to be honest, if you've got a slipstream onto the pit straight, it probably already means you're not close enough to make a move. Because into Duffus Dip, you need to be fully alongside if you want to try and make a move there. So for me, if you want to get that move done, you need to basically have already cut back on the car ahead out of Taylor's hairpin, which means you can't have a slipstream because you need to be that close. So really, slipstream is probably less important around Knockhill than most other places.
Adam Barron getting the number 5 Porsche in amongst the Mercs, slotting that onto the second row alongside Matty Chambers, with a pair of Mercs in the background of the shot. Matty Chambers just crossing the line, improved in time but not position on that occasion with a 50.120. Still only Chris Pawley in the 49s. So we did see a few 49s as well, a very colourful Aston Martin getting out of the way of Tom Stevens, who is, I think he's our lead Porsche championship-wise. Yes, he is up in Forbes. That's not going to help him.
Did you see him through the chicane there, Chris? That was the most air I think I've ever seen a GT4 car take.
I looked away just at the wrong moment, unfortunately. I heard Tom gasp there, so there was a fair amount of aircraft, a fair amount of airtime being gained from what I gather.
I don't know if we can get a replay on that or not, but we'll have to wait and see. If not, you can go watch that broadcast back later on, Chris, because that was enjoyable.
I'll look forward to that, in which case. Tom Stevens crossing the line. Does he improve where he stands? He does not on that occasion. So the number 4 Porsche remains in 8th position. 5th in the championship at the moment. He climbed a few positions, was 8th previously, but under 5th for the beginning of this week. Matty Chambers in 3rd at the moment, just under 2/10 off the back of Chris Pawley. Oh, look at the slide there, just coming through Clark onto Railway Straight. Straight used in a very loose sense. It's Matty Chambers. What he is able to do. Where is he? He is around 10th or so in the championship. I think it's slightly lower than that. Think of it. But over the line he comes then. Does he improve further? Not on this occasion. So I've got, what have we got? 6.5 minutes of qualifying. It's still in the hands of the Welshman.
Certainly is, and it's the same 3 names at the top of the leaderboard as we saw during the practice session, which just shows that the pace is permanent, not temporary, as Matty Chambers explores those track limits that we talk of. Adam Barron trying to come out the pit lane is very tricky there because Adam can't just disappear. He has to come onto the circuit, but actually the racing line into turn 1 uses the pit lane exit, which isn't exactly ideal. So unfortunately, even though he did his best to get out of the way, there wasn't really much he could do to get out of the way of Dan Cross, so a bit of a shame there. But yeah, the Mercs clearly looking strong, Chris. Paulie, Martin, Chambers, same 3 in the same order as we saw in practice, which just shows that pace is probably about right. Then there's a big gap back to 4th place. Right now it's Adam Barron who's put together a good lap, but we saw David Wrench in the Merc up there in 4th earlier on. We also saw Pete Plasto up higher as well in the Aston Martin, so expect to see those guys rise through. I just don't think they're going to have anything for the top 3 because the Merc clearly has an advantage looking at the leaderboard.
It would seem so, and certainly based on what we've seen in the season thus far, the Merc is very kind on the corners, so here that is going to be a pretty big advantage. Now, we're not expecting any rain whatsoever. I think we're going to have enough chaos going on, particularly for our reverse grid race this week. And Knockhill, Dave Wrench crosses the line, does not improve on his 5th position time of 50.545. Oh no, Jack from Wade has gone for a bit of a wander. As we cut to Ryan Martin, yeah, that was very much exit stage right, wasn't it, for Jack Tranway? I
think that was a Juski, but I think that might be his 2nd mistake in the same corner this qualifying session. We see a replay now. This is a Juski, and yep, just onto the curb, touched the gravel, and this time he went right instead of left, so he's exploring both tyre barriers on the exit of the chicane. But that's what we talked about earlier. You know, in qualifying, you might as well give it a go. You might as well push the limits, because if you get it wrong like that, you just exit back to the pits, give it another go. If he does that in the race, he is toast.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dan Cross now up into 4th position. So now the front 2 rows are occupied by the Mercedes. Dan Cross with, oops, that's Pete Plasto that's wandering off the road in the 312 Aston, pushed down into 7th position, courtesy of Dan Cross improvement. 263 Merc, so still pressing on, but yeah, there is a bit of a gap there, isn't there? 3.5 tenths between Dan Cross and Matty Chambers. Very, very tight between Chambers and Martin. Surprised Adam Barron's wandered off the road somewhere, but again, probably just trying to get out of people's way. Less than 4 minutes to go, still plenty of time out there to find. Well, I was going to say plenty of time out there to find. Plenty of drivers with improvements that are potential, but when the margins are that narrow, finding that advantage, finding that extra tenth or even hundredths in most cases is getting very, very difficult.
You're absolutely right. Really impressive, by the way, from Dan Cross to be up there in 4th place. I think that's one of the highest positions we've seen him in this season. And of course, again, just furthers our kind of opinion, I guess, of the Mercedes based on timing alone. But jumping just up ahead of this man, Adam Barron, who now launches into the curb. You can see that the Porsche there of Adam Barron just can't quite take as much curb on the entry to the chicane as those Mercedes, and that's where it must be making the difference around here, because the Porsche's layout should be pretty good around Knockhill. Lots of kind of high-speed corners where traction is good on the exit, and the Porsche should really come into its own, but clearly the lap times are speaking for themselves, because Adam, we know how much pace Adam's got. Heading into the hairpin, just passing the 89, there's going to be contact on the exit, and both laps are ruined there, so that's a real shame. Sean Watson it was in the Aston Martin, and you know, if Sean was on a fast lap, he absolutely had a right to go for the corner, and if that's the case, Adam misjudged it. If Sean wasn't on a fast lap, then he should have bailed out of that one a bit earlier, but both drivers live to fight another day, and we will have more laps, although the sky has just gotten very dark.
Yes, we didn't expect rain. Have I commentator cursed the weather? Now that would be a first.
It wouldn't be a first for Knockhill, put it that way.
Well, there is that. As we see Adam Barron just flirting with the kitty litter, being chased by one of the Mercedes. I mean, if anything's going to incentivize you to go a bit quicker, it is a growling Merc chasing you. Does he get out of the way? Yes, he does. So with that touch on the dust, Clark has decided to get out of the throttle. 2 more minutes to go. Still the only driver under 50 seconds is Chris Pawley. Has anyone got anything left to find? We've got another 2 minutes to find out.
Adrian Warmington just joining as well, which is great to see, but he's only got a couple of minutes to set a lap time, so he'll be hoping to get out the pits and get out on circuit, assuming he's not got any sort of qualifying penalty. Meanwhile, Pawley sets a 50.15, so he's still a couple of tenths off his fastest. There you can see the pit lane exit line, and one of the cars that's coming out of the pit lane is waiting for that line to clear, so that's really good heads-up driving by whoever that was parked on the pit lane exit. I think that was Warmington, actually, so maybe he's not going to get a lap in, Chris. It might be a one-lap shootout. Look at the line they're taking. Look how aggressive it is into the chicane. Aggressive out of the chicane as Pawley gets sideways. I think Pawley might be in a barrier. Oh, no, he's just in the gravel trap. But that is it, taking all of the risks. And you can see how much curb he was taking on the entry. He's going to just about have enough time to get out the pits and get one more lap in, but this is where the track's going to get very, very busy. And you can just see the marbles, the gravel that's been dragged onto the surface here at Knockhill. And of course, that's new to iRacing, or new and improved at least to iRacing just recently. So all of this gravel that's been kicked up by these drivers, it's everywhere, Chris. It's all over the place. And it's beginning to look a bit more like Bahrain out there.
That's so very true. Yeah, Adrian Warmington really giving him an even bigger challenge, appearing right at the very end of qualifying. Yeah, like you say, an absolute one-lap shootout for him. We always talk about, don't we, how close the pace is generally between our drivers. But even though the gaps may be a bit bigger than some people are expecting, on a short track you always expect the lap times to be very, very close. But let's not underestimate, this track is very, very hard. It is a really difficult circuit. Yes, once you get into a rhythm, you will, you can then do pretty well at it. However, it is really unforgiving. You have made one mistake at a very crucial moment. The barrier looks like it's far away. You will meet it very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. You're carrying a lot of speed around here, and there's, not any tarmac runoff. So if you go off wide, you're going to be losing grip very quickly, and that's how you can find the wall. Matty Chambers finding more of the gravel, which is all over the place here. He's going to cross the line for his final attempt. Can he get any closer to Ryan Marson or Chris Pawley? Doesn't look like it on this occasion, so Chambers remains in 3rd place. So we've got, who's that? Bradley Crop coming a crop at the top of the chicane, but he will rejoin.
It had
1
to happen
second
at
down
some
at the
point,
moment.
didn't it?
Yeah, I didn't even mean that, but we went with it. I'm sorry, Bradley. I'm very sorry. Finch makes it through safely, and that's one of the Mercedes pulling off to the right-hand side to get out of the way. So we'll see if John Finch then can improve on P10. But this is really a point where it's basically do or die now. Drivers might as well go for it, and it doesn't look like Finch is on full shot. No, he is still on full commitment as we head now towards Taylor's hairpin for what will be the final time in this qualifying session.
Practicing the hairpin, if nothing else. So again, because this is a 2 sprint, and he actually comes into the pits. Yeah, you do wonder whether he was off pace at one point. So this being a 2 sprint race setup, we're not expecting. If you're coming into the pits, you're having a bad day. But it is Chris Pauly, the only man to break that 50-second time for the qualifying session, has got the pole position alongside fellow Mercedes Ryan Martin. So it's Wales and Scotland on the front row. Matty Chambers and Darren Cross will have row 2, with Adam Barron, the first non-Mercedes, in the top 5. And David Wrench will join him on row 3. Pete Plasto and Tom Stevens will have row 4. Our sole McLaren, James King, is joined by John Finch on row 5. Jack Trunwitt and Matthew Forrest will have row 6. Bradley Kropp and Mark Gladwell have row 7. Jackie Jewski and Ben Weston, on row 8. Dan Barris and Adrian Warmington will have row 9, with Sean Watson at the back of the field on row 10 to himself. Oh, who is going to come out on top here? Is there an advantage to having pole? Some tracks pole is not entirely favourable. What's the front row feel like here, John?
Give me pole every day of the week at Knockhill, because it is, as I was saying earlier, the kind of place where if you can avoid those mistakes, if you can get good exits at the right corners, it's very, very tricky to lose position here at Knockhill. I mean, obviously it's not tricky to lose position, but what I mean is it's very difficult for the car behind to do anything about it if you keep your nose clean and keep up the pace. Chris Pauly clearly has the pace here at Knockhill. We've seen it in practice, we saw it in qualifying, he's done a lot of laps, so he should be nice and consistent. Ryan Martin, we've seen a little bit more erratic, I would say, throughout the couple of sessions that we've seen him on track. We've seen him off track just as much as we've seen him on track, and he's definitely pushing on. So for me, I would definitely be in Chris Pauly's position if I had a choice going into this race. I also noticed, Chris, during that qualifying session, unlike at Spa last week where we saw times continuously improving as the track rubbered in, I think the track was getting a lot worse as it got dirtier there in qualifying, because the drivers didn't tend to set their faster laps towards the end. They were mainly early on. So I do wonder if track degradation, the gravel, was making a big difference there, and whether that could be something to keep an eye out for in the race.
I 100% agree with you, John. As the pace car now leads the field away, it is a full lap, such as it is a very, very short lap here. It's just 2 miles long, I believe. So short track, but absolutely full of action. Now, I'm not exactly. I haven't done any sim racing for a long time. This was a brilliant place. It is. You're absolutely knackered after a very short period of time, which is why I'm absolutely stunned that we had drivers setting over 100 laps in a single session. Now, you could argue the GT4 machinery may be a little bit, kinder on your arms than some machinery that you're fighting with every corner. What did you race here, John?
Race a few different things here, but I'd say the most strange is probably SsangYong pickup trucks. We did a single make SsangYong pickup season, and I took part in the Knockhill rounds, which were forward and backwards, so that was a lot of fun. But I've also raced a single seater around here, and it's a very, very different experience. But I think these GT4s will be knackering, to be honest, to drive. I don't think they're the easiest things in the world, and we'll see lots of oversteer, we'll see lots of cars stepping out. So these drivers are in for a full workout, I believe, Chris.
Into Taylor's for the last time in peacetime. It is going to be all action, all fury, as the pace car peels away into the pit lane. There they go. So Chris Pauly and Ryan Martin, the Welsh and the Scotsman, on the front row. We are racing here in Knockhill, and Chris Pauly wastes no time in establishing his hold on that racing line, heading down into turn 1 for the first time in anger. So does everybody survive? Is going to be the first question. It's generally the first question we always ask. It does look like everybody has managed to navigate the first few turns. Whoa, that's a very wayward Pauly. You saw he got the chicane all wrong, and that spat him onto the dust. He's lost one position, just about manages to shut the door. Matty Chambers is happening already, but Ryan Martin did not have a great exit from Clark, already under pressure from the Welshman.
This is literally it at Knockhill. If Paulie doesn't make the mistake there, he's fine. It's the one place you cannot afford to make a mistake on the exit of that chicane, because you run across the gravel and you're going to get overtaken, and it's exactly what we saw in lap 1 from Chris Paulie. He didn't need to make that mistake because there's just no way through for Ryan Martin if he gets it right. But he's going to try and make amends immediately, but unfortunately turn 1 not an overtaking spot if he can't get fully alongside, and that's what we've seen there. So Martin also got away with a bit of a slow exit heading up the hill towards the hairpin too, but he now leads. So it's the Scotsman at his local venue from Paulie from Chambers. We also saw Trunwitt and Forrest running side by side through the opening few corners, but Trunwitt managed to get through and into 10th place.
Well, bit of a gap forming between second and third. Chris Paulie and Matt Chambers. So the top two beginning to break away. Look at Pete Plasto hustling hard on Adam Barron as we've got, oh, that's a spin, that's a Jewski. Jackie Jewski in the number 99 Merc has gone for a spin. Doesn't look like he's collected anybody else, so he'll get back on the way again. John Finch under pressure from Jack Trunwitt for 9th position. The bright green Aston is, Matt Forrest is in trouble. Where has Matt Forrest come to grief? There he is in the multicoloured Aston. He's taken it to, I guess he's locked up and gone for a spin at Taylor's. It's catapulted him onto the infield. Back on he comes, right the way down the field.
The other thing I forgot to mention earlier, we saw David Wrench in the background on lap 1 spinning out the chicane as well, following Chris Paulie off. So Wrench right down the back of the field. Looks like Forrest, as you say, may have just locked up on his own accord there, or yeah, that's the camber of the corner, and that's the uphill section we're talking about. Very, very easy for the car to go light. Spins to the infield, which you don't often see before the exit of a corner, but Forrest regains control and resumes in P16. Only man behind him now is David Wrench. We're seeing a replay now. This is Wrench on lap 1, so as you see, just got it loose through the chicane in the first lap, cold rear tyres, and round he went. Thankfully didn't hit anything, but he did lose a lot of position, and he'll now be looking at trying to get back into the reverse grid fight.
That's Matt Forrest. Is that Matt Forrest again that's had trouble?
Oh, yeah, looks like he was off at Clark's potentially. So Forrest having a disaster and now dropped behind Wrench. So that's another position for David as he moves up into 17th. Meanwhile, we're looking at Barron and Plasto, two guys who were battling lots and lots throughout last season and early this season. They're at it again, but this time it's over 5th place. The battle of the non-Mercedes.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jack Trunwitt's in trouble somewhere. He's fallen right the way down to 15th. He's gone for an excursion. Didn't see quite where that has happened. But Adam Barron doing what he can to stay in the tyre tracks of Dan Cross ahead of him, whilst fending off the advances of Pete Plasto. Here comes Tom Stevens as well. He's getting interested at the back of the Aston Martin. Can't do anything about it though. Pete Plasto wants to hug that inside line. Does not quite get the exit he wants, or doesn't overcome the exit from the Porsche. Very nicely done. Paulie and Martin still on top of one another. The fastest lap goes to Chris Paulie this time around, coming down through Duffer's Dip into McIntyre. Ryan Martin is not running off into the distance. They're still opening that gap to Matty Chambers, who's got a 1.2 second gap, 4.5. That's not what he wants. He wants to be involved in this battle as again Chris Paulie flirts with the dust on the exit of the chicane. He has cost him a few valuable tenths. You don't want to be giving Ryan Martin any advantage, but then Ryan Martin flirts with the dust as well on the exit of Clark. That's going to cost him a few tenths, but it's nip and tuck up the top, but that's going to help Matty Chambers get back involved.
Pulling all the gravel onto the road once again. The Butchers aren't going to be happy. Meanwhile, Warmington's dropped back to 18th, so he's had a problem. We've seen Wrench get past Forrest and Ajewski as Ajewski's off again, and it's the exit of the chicane once again for Jack Ajewski. So that's, I think, the 4th time we've seen him off there across qualifying in the race. So it's been a bit of a disaster so far for the 99, and just after he was passed as well by David Wrench on that previous lap. So Wrench up into 15th. But meanwhile, I mean, Martin and Paulie, we think Paulie's got the best pace here, but as I say, it's very difficult to overtake at Knockhill. So having the pace is one thing, getting past is very much another, and he will be ruining that mistake he made on the opening lap, because this was a real chance to get positions. Oh, as Plasto runs a little bit wide at the chicane, but thankfully for his sake holds on from Tom Stevens. Stevens is going to have the run now, though, as they head through his lops. God, look how defensive Pete Plasto went on the exit of Clark. But does no. That's a big move then from Stevens. That's a very long way back. Manages to get the Porsche slowed down, but that's not going to give him the exit he needs. The Aston gets the horses galloping, regains 7th, and gets the move done well before the braking zone, well, before they've even crossed the line. So Pete Plasto back up into 7th, but under all kinds of pressure. credit to Stevens there. What an attempt that was to kind of send the dummy on Plasto, move to the outside, dive to the inside, and he got the braking spot on as well, Chris. He made it down the inside, late on the brakes, but also made the apex with no problem. It was just very smart heads-up defending from Plasto to cut back and get that move. As we're seeing a change of lead, that's Pauly through and Martin. Was it the same mistake then from Ryan Martin? Did he run wide through the chicane? We'll hopefully get a replay of that, but it would suggest he would, because Pauly goes through back into the lead now. So, position swap. Pauly makes up for it. Chambers still right there with these two, but I mean, clearly these drivers are making mistakes out there. Let's see if it was indeed a mistake, or I've just made myself look silly. And Martin, yep, that's it, running wide onto the gravel, loses momentum. And guys, if you can just avoid doing that, you're going to be fine. But these two are pushing so hard and using all of the track limits they can get away with. The mistakes are coming.
That's it, isn't it? Is they've got to push hard to try and gain any kind of advantage or defend as much as they can. But look how much gravel there is. They are literally driving through. Well, okay, as I say that, it clears up. But we've seen so much gravel down there, haven't we? Going through McIntyre's and then through Butch's. So it is an insane amount of gravel being kicked up. And now Chris Pauly really getting into his stride as Dan Cross has lost out to Adam Barron behind them. A flash of the lights there from Chris Pauly indicating to Sean Watson, we're coming, get out of the way. And Ryan Martin having to defend against Matty Chambers, trying to hang on to second position. So Ryan Martin not fully comfortable here. Yeah, the Aston Martin gets out of the way. I'm not fancying that, he says. Don't blame him at all. Well driven. But that's nearly a second that Chris Pauly's got for himself already.
He's absolutely leapt away from Ryan Martin. He's given himself room to make a mistake as well, which is key around here at Knockhill. I do wonder if Dan Cross made the same mistake again that we're seeing from these Mercedes through the chicane, because it looked like he lost the position to Barron on the way into Clark's. We're now on board with Chambers through the chicane, and it's wide for Ryan Martin this time, so Chambers is going to have a run, but he's not close enough. Martin didn't quite make a big enough mistake that time. However, he's missed the apex. Chambers has got an amazing exit. What's he going to do with that pace? He's going to run down the inside of his lops, and I think he's going to have this move done, Chris, before the hairpin. But Martin is going to have the inside.
Oh, but then Matty Chambers is going to have the momentum, is he? That's very deep for Ryan Martin defending that apex line. Well driven from both of them. That's dropped them a second now behind Chris Pauly. Does Matty Chambers have the exit he needs? Already the door being slammed on his face. No, he doesn't fancy going side by side into Duffer's Dip. Don't blame him either. So, but nearly slams into the back of Ryan Martin. This battle is not done by any stretch of the imagination. This is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, the braking zone into Duffer's Dip just isn't enough of a braking zone to make a move. You have to be fully alongside before it. And Chambers just did not quite get the exit, the hairpin he needed. I think Martin did a great job. He was defending the inside line, but he managed to get the car rotated and power out of the corner without losing all of that momentum to Chambers. So good stuff there from Martin. However, all of that is costing them more time. Pauly's now got a second gap, so he can afford a couple of mistakes and still remain in the lead. I think Pauly's looking good now with 7 minutes to go in this one. Meanwhile, Pete Plasto down in 6th place. This is our current championship leader, of course, Pete Plasto. He is going to be very keen to make some moves up through this field, because 6th place for him is not the result he's going to be looking for here. Dan Cross next up.
No, absolutely not. That is not what the 312 Aston wants to be. But as we've seen, the Mercs have that advantage over what seems to be everybody else, just the way it keeps itself as balanced as possible. Although ironically it's Mercs we've seen spinning out. That's mainly because there's more of them than any other mark out there. And the commentator's curse is strong in me today, as we just see Matty Chambers again doing that same mistake, just going a little bit too hard through the chicane, and that spits him out into the dust. That's going to back him off away from Ryan Martin. That's exactly what Ryan Martin wants. He does not want Matty Chambers buzzing all over his rear wing. Is that going to give him an opportunity to chase off after Chris Pauly? Chris has been absolutely on fire all night so far.
Yeah, Ryan Martin's fastest lap, a 50.324, and he's just generally around about a tenth of a second off Pauly on a consistent basis. We saw Chambers pretty much matching Martin on that lap as well. These guys are very similarly paced. It's just about mistakes. Maybe, Chris, the Mercedes, by being the fastest car, allows them obviously to take more curb, which is why they're going so fast. But I do wonder if that's also what is making them, push the limits further through the chicane. If they can carry more speed in a certain line that the other cars can't take, perhaps it just makes them, puts them more at risk on the exit. But I mean, despite that, because they're all doing it, they're kind of getting away with it. As long as they're fast enough, they can afford a few mistakes. Meanwhile, Barron's in the thick of it here against Cross and Plasto. I wonder if he's just made a mistake, and now Cross is going to have a look potentially into the hairpin. I don't think he's close enough to have a dive. Plasto right on the tail of the Merc as well. So let's look back now from the Porsche of Adam Barron as they exit Taylor's hairpin onto the start-finish straight. But I don't think anyone's going to be close enough here to have a think into Duffer's Dip. So they're going to jump back in the queue and try and force another mistake.
This is all about pressure management, isn't it? You've got to be good at applying the pressure and obviously dealing with it. Not necessarily about raw speed. It is just about trying to force that mistake. Look how close Darren Cross gets to the back of Adam Barron. No way through at the moment. But again, it's exactly as you say, John. As soon as that mistake is made, then Darren Cross is in a perfect position to be able to do something about it, along with Pete Plasto. So if Adam Barron makes a mistake, it could well be 2 positions he loses. But we will see as the race continues. Matty Chambers trying his best to hang on to the back of Ryan Martin, who has closed in a little bit on the back of Chris Pawley up top. So the lead battle is not resolved yet.
I think I've worked out the leader's tactics, Chris, next after chicane. If they go off the track more often, they throw all of the gravel onto the track, it'll actually clear the racing line off the track, and they'll have a much smoother run. I think that's what they're doing. Meanwhile, Barron, looking to defend the inside line as tough as dip, that's all you need to do. Just cover your ground. You're not going to get passed down this hill, as long as you keep it mistake-free, and that's what we're seeing from these drivers at the moment. I think if you put Darren Barris at the front of this grid, he's going to win this race, regardless of pace. You know, we saw that defensive drive at Lime Rock. He'll be praying for a reverse grid situation here, because he's proven that he can handle the defensive pressure. Currently sitting in P11 is Darren Barris. We haven't seen much of him throughout this race, but in P11 you do have a small chance of getting that reverse grid. Of course, we'll take the results, the finishing order between 6th and 12th. One of those numbers will be randomized, and that will be the number that then, or the amount of cars, I should say, that will be reversed. So if you finish between 6th and 12th, you do have a small chance of ending up on pole position for the next race.
Battle for 17th between David Wrench and Adrian Warmington. The two Mercs battling on as, I beg your pardon, that's Jack Ajewski and David Wrench, excuse me, with Ben Weston not too far ahead of them in the 66 Porsche. So they are having, it may well be for lower points positions, but their battle is just as intense as it is between Barron, Cross and Plasto. So don't take your eyes off of them. They're in for an absolutely fantastic battle as they've closed right into the back of Ben Weston as well. So this is now three-way fight for 15th position. Porsche versus the pair of Mercedes. As, oh no, that's James King. He's again, that chicane has claimed another victim. The McLaren avoiding the wall just about.
Certainly, I mean, that McLaren's the one car you do not want to be bouncing over those curbs, and I do wonder if James has come to blows with those curbs, but we'll have to wait and see. Real shame for him, though. He remains in 12th position, so still the very faintest of hope of a reverse grid, but that's obviously elevated Barris and Trunwitt up into 10th and 11th place, as we now see Forrest right on the back of Gladwell for P13. So Forrest is going to look to the outside, force Gladwell to the inside. They're going to hit the brakes. Let's see what's going to happen here. So Gladwell nice and late on the brakes. Forrest has got a good line though. If he can do the up and under, in fact, he's going to go all the way around the outside and carry the momentum using the banking to his advantage. And that is stunning stuff from Matthew Forrest, who drives around the outside of Gladwell and moves up into 13th place. Superb stuff.
Nicely done indeed. This battle for 4th continues to rage on. Barron, Cross and Plasto. The Aston trying his best to wrongfoot the Mercedes, who in turn is trying to put the Porsche off their particular duet, or the particular dance I should say, is just seen Ben Weston lose out to David Wrench and Jack Ajewski as well in that three-way fight for 15th. So that one may well be concluded at the moment. Only another couple of laps remaining. It's Chris Pawley from Ryan Martin, your top two. Matty Chambers is very much on his own, as that is Watson getting very much out of the way for the battle for 15th position between Ajewski and David Wrench. Still very, very close together between the Mercs.
Yeah, Reg's had a really interesting season. He's very new to iRacing as a service, but he showed remarkable pace. To be honest, throughout the whole season, he got a podium first time out at Thruxton, which was amazing to see. Not in a reverse grid race either. But since then, he's made a few too many mistakes. We've seen potential from David Wrench, but too many issues and mistakes. He's been a bit unlucky as well, so it's been a great learning season on iRacing for him, and I'm really fascinated to watch his progress into future seasons. But this man, Pawley, it's the first time we've seen him in this championship, or at least for a couple of years anyway, and he's been sensational. He's been the person that's really been applying the most pressure, I would say, throughout the season to Ryan Martin. And this time, here at Knockhill, I do think maybe for the first time this season, Pawley has genuinely had the speed advantage over Martin. They've both made a mistake. They've swapped around a couple of times, and if it wasn't for those mistakes, the mistake for Ryan cost him the win there. Pawley obviously potentially could have lost it on the first lap, but if you ignore those mistakes, the guys are just driving around, fairly safely, and they wouldn't have really swapped positions. So mistakes proving crucial at Knockhill, as we would always expect. But this is it, into the last corner now for Chris Pawley. He's got back marker traffic. Ryan Martin gets very close to the back of him, but I think Pawley's going to be safe.
Just about with that back marker, the Porsche of Ben Weston could well have played a part, but your winner in race number 1, a bit of a wiggle there as Chris Pauly brings home the 88 Mercedes in the winning position. Ryan Martin chases him home. Matty Chambers rounds out the podium. Then it is Adam Barron 4th, Dan Cross in 5th, Pete Plasto in 6th. Tom Stevens has 7th with John Finch in 8th. Bradley Kropp will come home in 9th place there. He is Darren Berris in 10th. Jack Trunwitt in 11th with James King, even with his spin, rounds out the top 12. So those potentially in chance for the reverse grid pole. We will deal with that once all cars have come home. Matt Forrest is looking at 13th. Mark Gladwell in 14th. David Wrench he's going to win this duel between himself and Jack Ajewski for 15th position. Ben Weston, the last car on the lead lap, just about. He almost got lapped. Managed to just about avoid it in the 66 Porsche. What a race. That was absolutely superb. And I'm sure Chris Pauly is going to be very happy with that. So that is the results as they stand. As mentioned, this is before any kinds of stewards intervention. It is Chris Pauly from Ryan Martin, Matty Chambers 3rd, Adam Barron 4th, Darren Cross in 5th, Pete Plasto in 6th, Tom Stevens 7th, John Finch in 8th, Brad Kropp in 9th, Darren Berris in 10th, Jack Trunwitt 11th, James Keane in 12th, Barrett Forrest in 13th, Mark Gladwell 14th, David Wrench 15th, Jack Ajewski 16th, Ben Weston 17th, and Adrian Warmington rounding out the field in 18th position. We did, so Sean Watson was our last remaining car in 19th position. What a race!
That was great, wasn't it? Really, really enjoyed that. So much action at Knockhill. We don't often see a huge amount of overtaking at Knockhill. We see more mistakes. I think we saw everything in that race, to be fair. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it's only going to get more intense here, Chris, because we're going to obviously have that reverse grid. Will it be Plasto, Stevens, Finch, Kropp, Ferris, Trunwitt, or King taking pole position?
Spin the wheel production. Let us see who is going to get the reverse grid pole. So as for those unfamiliar with the process, this is the wheel that decides how many of our top 12 are going to be reversed for race number 2. Looks like it's going to be 9. There, yes, it is. So that is Bradley Kropp that has the top spot. So that's going to put Bradley Kropp and John Finch side by side. Tom Stevens and Pete Plasto will have the next row. So that's the position I'm reading off from 9th upwards. So it's going to be Brad Kropp, John Finch, Tom Stevens and Pete Plasto, Dan Cross and Adam Barron will have row 3, Matty Chambers and Ryan Martin row 4, Chris Pauly will share row 5 with Darren Berris, and from 10th downwards it is the positions they finished in. Jack Trunwitt and James King will have row 6, Matt Forrest and Mark Gladwell row 7, David Wrench and Jack Ajewski row 8 with Ben Weston and Adam Warmington row 9, and Sean Watson at the back of the field. Okay. Is anyone wanting to come and have a chat to us, I
think Chris Pauly, our race winner, is ready and waiting, so it'd be good to speak to the Welshman.
Yes, let's have a chat with Race Them On with Chris Pauly. You with us?
Good evening, gents. How's it going?
Good evening indeed, or Boridar, I believe is a correct way of saying it in your neck of the woods. I apologize if I've just absolutely butchered that. Well, God, we thought it was going to be tricky out there. You had it all to do. It was, you were in the lead, you weren't in the lead, and you're in the lead again. Talk us through it.
I thought I'd thrown it away immediately. I was gutted. And then, Ryan's made exactly the same mistake that I made, and I've managed to get back through, and then it was a good race at the end.
Well, yeah, we thoroughly enjoyed that. Was this a track you were looking forward to? And you put in, shall we say, quite a lot of laps practice leading into the race.
I was determined this week to try and get on pole in front of Ryan, so I've put in a lot of practice for once, and it seems to have worked. So maybe that's the key. Maybe that's the key to getting in front of Ryan. But obviously got the pole for the first time this season. Got a good start, but tried my hardest to throw it away.
So with over 100 laps practice, do you know how many blades of grass there are on outside in any one particular turn?
I think I've explored every inch of this track, and I was planning not to in the race. But, it's weird how when the pressure's on, you start to make a few more mistakes.
It's past tense, Chris. It's how many blades of grass there were.
That's so true. Any questions, John?
I mean, really enjoying watching that one. You know, I called at the start, if anyone makes a mistake on the exit of the chicane, that's the one time where you can kind of lose position. And we saw you do that. And then obviously Ryan did exactly the same behind you. So it worked out okay in the end with a bit of a swap around. But just talk us through the process of going through that chicane, because it's probably one of the most challenging sections of circuit in the UK for these cars. And obviously you have to do a lot of cutting, but be very precise at the same time, whilst not being able to see it. So, you know, how is that challenge for you as a driver?
It is, yeah. I think it's where you find the most time. I noticed me and Ryan actually have slightly different lines. I think I take a more aggressive line over the curb, which is more risky, but seems to get a bit more time. But it's again how I made the mistake. Although saying that, he also made a mistake there. So to be honest, my plan in the race was not to take any risks on that. But obviously with the adrenaline going on lap one, that went out the window. But it doesn't really suit this car, I think, to be honest. There's a very particular line you need to take through there, and it is a bit of luck, especially if you want to go for those quick lap times.
Could have fooled us. Looked pretty well suited in Mercedes, but I mean, excellent stuff. So you'll be starting in 9th position. How are you feeling about that?
I think I've just got to keep it on the road this time. Just try and just see if other people make mistakes, try not to get involved in any contact, and just see if we can work through the field. But it's so hard to overtake around here. You've got to really throw it at the inside somewhere. It's only really the last corner where you've got a chance. Just keep it on the road. That's my number one plan.
And wise words indeed. We look forward to speaking to you again. Great win, and best of luck for race 2. Thank you very much, Chris Pauly.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, Pauly and Martin are essentially going to need the other drivers to do a Pauly or do a Martin for the chicane to make their positions up. So we'll have to wait and see how they get on with that.
Speaking of Ryan Martin, let's have a chat with us. 2nd place finisher, the local boy. It's Ryan Martin. Ryan, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Good evening. How are you guys?
Oh, well, we thoroughly love that. Talk us through from your perspective. You had a lot of work to do. Again, both you and Chris were determined to make the same mistakes. But how hard is it out there?
Well, especially in these conditions, the track, I promise you, the track has never been 30 odd degrees in Fife. That's an absolute fact. But the qualifying, me and Chris have been very, very close in our lap times all the way through the week when we've been setting times. He got the upper hand in qualifying, but then he made the mistake almost immediately. I thought, oh, here we go, this is it. And then I think it was maybe 2 or 3 laps later, I did the exact same mistake. That chicane is wild. If you go a little bit too far right or a little bit too far left over the exit curb, you're getting spat out. So unfortunately it happened to both of us, but we both survived, and we ended up actually having a decent race where there was chances for both of us, but we didn't do anything stupid, because if you throw the car up the inside at this track, it's only going to end in one way, and that's phoning the medics, unfortunately.
Very well described. So did you feel there was a bit more pressure on your shoulders, being that this is kind of, quote, local to you?
I'd say that it's been worse in previous seasons, because in the Discord chat, obviously in the past, I've been saying that I've actually done laps around Knockhill and all the rest of it. But this week I've been pretty quiet on the chat, not to attract too much attention. But I was actually really worried after last week. My wheelbase malfunctioned during the qualifying for last week, so I didn't have any force feedback through the dry or the wet last week, and I ended up in a situation where I thought that's my wheelbase gone, but it's somehow been resurrected, so I'm just hoping that it lasts for the next few races. But yeah, that it's even a positive that I'm able to race this week, considering that my wheelbase actually was kaput at the end of last week.
Wow, I mean, you're certainly putting on a great show for us, Ryan. Any questions from you, John?
First of all, I'll take back my criticism of your race at Spa, because that sounds horrible. So good to hear that your wheelbase is back up and running, and good to see you back at the front. I mean, I asked this to Chris, and I'm going to ask you again as well, Ryan. I mean, the chicane, obviously very specific line that has to be taken there, but in this Mercedes, even though it rides the curbs well, it still feels like a little bit of a lottery with how you land. So just talk us through, how you actually go about attacking that chicane.
Well, as you can see from riding on board, it's completely blind when you're on the exit. So the only reference you really have is the entrance curb on the left-hand side. Now, I've realised that Chris Pauly does a very different line to me. I do a very different line to Matty. Somehow we all come out in one piece. I think it's more finding the line that you're comfortable with and you know how the car's going to react. That might be different for everybody. But for me, I need to take a slightly later first apex and then live very dangerously on the exit. It's a horrible corner, blind every time, especially if you are following a car right in front of you. You can't see either apex, and if you hit the exit sausage wrong, your car's going round. So it's a difficult one, but I think the three of us at the front there, we negotiated it pretty well every time. None of us had huge issues. None of us actually spun the car. I imagine that happened to other people during that race because it usually does at that corner.
Yes, it
did. But yeah, also about Spa last week, I've not even watched the replay. I usually watch the replay, but I could not feel grip. I couldn't feel a lack of grip. I couldn't feel the car sliding. I was just pointing and hoping, and that is the reason why the race was not up to my usual standards.
Even the greats make mistakes, and even the greats break things as well. So
Yeah.
you've done brilliantly well to keep fighting at the front, and long may it continue. So we'll have a quick chat with Matty before we run out of time. But best of luck for race number 2, Ryan, and we look forward to speaking to you again. Thank you very much, Ryan Martin.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy the second race, and I'll speak to you soon, hopefully.
Oh, I have no
We will.
doubt. Right, let's have a quick chat then with our third place finisher, Matty Chambers. Are you with us?
Hello, you alright?
We're fine. We've had a great time so far. Now, very quickly, as we've kind of nattered too much to Ryan and to Chris. What was it like for you? You were kind of chasing that lead battle for a while. What was kind of running through your mind? Trying to keep up with those two.
Yeah, like I knew our pace was quite similar, and I knew how difficult it was to overtake there. So for a lot of the race, I was just sort of sat behind, passively waiting for those two to sort of get into blows, essentially, and I could just pick up the spoils. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. There was little mistakes, but I couldn't quite make full advantage. I found it quite interesting during the race. So like the tire temps were a big factor in that. You probably noticed on the timing tower, like the ebb and the flow of the lap times. I think we were all doing the same thing in terms of like taking some heat out the tires a lap and then going for it a lap. So the lap times kept jumping up and down.
Yeah, it was. In fairness, we were kind of more keeping an eye on everybody because there was battles all the way through the field. But the mistakes are so easy to make that those kind of fluctuations seem kind of part of the course.
Yeah, you're just driving on your wits around here. I think Ryan alluded to it earlier in terms of you're just trying to feel for how the car's going to behave before it even happens. It's just a lottery a lot of the time. You make a slight mistake and you're in the barrier spinning round. Or the new iRacing gravel situation, it plays a huge factor as well. So a lot of the time there's gravel over the top of that chicane, and then you go into that right-hander and you've got no grip because you've just driven over all the gravel. So yeah, there was a lot to think about during the race. Unfortunately, I got blocked off just on the last 2 laps by a back marker, which prevented me sort of getting involved right at the end. But yeah, hopefully more of the same in the second race.
Yeah, very much so. You'll be starting from 7th on this one. How are you feeling ahead of that?
Nervous.
Quickly before we let you go, any questions, John?
Yeah, I'll let you get on with the race, Matty, and enjoy. Best of luck. And yeah, just remember, when you're going over that gravel and it's making you slide around, your pain is our gain. So we'll enjoy watching it.
Yeah, no problem. Right, go to the grid.
Yes.
I'll see you in a bit. Bye.
Best of luck out there, Matty Chambers. He starts from 7th for the second race. Bradley Cropp and John Finch will be leading the field in this reverse grid race for Knockhill. Tom Stevens and Pete Plasto will have row 2 with Dan Cross and Adam Barron on row 3. Matty Chambers and Ryan Martin on row 4. Chris Pauly with Dan Berris on row 5. Jack Trunwit and James King will have row 6 with Matthew Forrest and Mark Gladwell on row 7. David Wrench and Jack Ajewski have row 8. Ben Weston and Adrian Warmington row 9. Sean Watson at the back of the field. All right then, John. So you're Ryan Martin. You're starting from 8th. What's on your mind?
Close your eyes, see what happens. I mean, honestly, if it's me in this race, you know, I'm taking into account that mistakes are going to be made, and that's how you're going to make moves. So I'm going to be focused on being a little bit, potentially even cautious through the chicane. Can't believe I just said that. And waiting for mistakes to happen up in front of you, really. Try and get good exits is the key here at Knockhill. But really, you know, keeping your nose clean in the early laps is going to be key as well. And I think you're going to make up a lot of positions through other mistakes. There's only so much you can do in terms of being aggressive. I think you're more likely to throw it away than to gain. So it's really just a balance. And you've got to pick your way through. You've got to live in the moment and just make the right decisions at the right time. Sounds very easy. It's never that simple.
No, it never is. It never is. Always easier on paper than it is in practice. So then, the safety car leading the field through another full lap of the circuit. So it was Mercedes masterclass for race number 1. It is the Aston Martin's holding station up front this time, with Tom Stevens, the first non-Aston, or first non-growler, towards the front. So he starts in the second row alongside Pete Plasto. There's that bright green Aston. Very dark now, so will that affect? Well, that will affect the tyre temperatures, as Ryan Martin commenting. It does not get that hot in Fife. Having lived north of the border, I can confirm they do know what sunshine is your side of the border, John, but possibly not that much of it.
Not in Fife. I think you'll find this is a Fife summer out there right now. But, no, it's been nice today, and it's just looking a little dark on the server right now. But let's hope that this racing action lightens the mood.
And whoa, look at that! Bradley Kropp nails the exit of Taylor's, then leaving Pete Plasto to the mercy of Tom Stevens. The Porsche gets the inside line. Does he hold on to that coming into Duffer's Dip? They're still side by side. That's brave. Coming down the first few turns, that's Pete Plasto trying to get alongside. He had a horrendous race last time, did Plasto, but did actually survive those first few turns. So Kropp from Stevens, great start from the Porsche as he gets up into second place. But we look slightly further back. There's race 1 runner Chris Pauly. What has happened to Ryan Martin? He's lost a position indeed. And gets a face full of dust whilst he's at it. Is that Pauly alongside Matty Chambers? The two nearly touching as they're coming up towards Taylor's. First time in anger for these guys getting hard on the brakes. The Mercedes slots in between our front row from last race. Matty Chambers still under all kinds of pressure from the local boy. Is Ryan Martin going to bounce out the inside of Duffer's Dip? It's brave to do. Doesn't commit to it. Don't blame him either. Like he said earlier, John, no big braking zone into the first turn. It would be somewhat, ambitious, I think the right word is to use. Ryan Martin does not want to be stuck there too long. He wants to be getting towards the front, but overtaking, exactly as you were saying earlier, John, so hard to do. Pete Plasto managing to kill the cameraman on the exit of the chicane.
Yeah, it may not look like the superhero move there from Ryan Martin, but it's exactly the right thing to do. Just back out on the way into Duffer's Dip. If you're not fully alongside, back out. Meanwhile, this is the place where you can kind of go for it under braking, and Stevens is looking to the inside of Bradley Kropp, but Kropp's got it covered for now, so hopefully he can get a good exit. Meanwhile, Barron gets past Finch on the inside of the hairpin, and that puts actually Cross at disadvantage, being held up, which allows Pauly to come through, and Pauly might even get 2 of them here if he can carry that momentum. In fact, I don't think he's going to. The Aston of Finch looking pretty punchy in a straight line. And poor Matty Chambers spends the whole race behind Chris Pauly and Ryan Martin, and then on the first lap immediately loses the position to Pauly. Meanwhile, Kropp's dropping down. Our race leader's gone off. He's gone off before the chicane. They're dragging the dirt onto the road, so Kropp's gone wide, presumably on the exit of McIntyre's, and lost the position through Clark's, drops down to 3rd, and now it is Tom Stevens in the lead. So let's see then what happened to Kropp. Exactly that. He's run wide through McIntyre's. We're getting a lovely view of the Fife summer, and then he's going to rejoin in 3rd place. No harm, no foul in terms of anyone going off the track, but it does mean, of course, Kropp loses his chance at the race win here. And it's all action now for the lead between Stevens and Plasto.
Oh, it's Porsche versus Aston. Look at that, still side by side. Goodness me, Ryan Martin's out. Oh, you're well spotted production. Oh, and there it is, look. The car pitching over to the left on the straight. So was there impact? We didn't quite see that. Oh my goodness, what happened to Ryan Martin? Just the car pitching over to the left, spit, and there it is. Oh, he just got unsettled on the bump on the exit of Clark. Couldn't get off the grass, spat him into the... Oh, that is a massive, massive blow to his championship potential. But Chris Pauly, look at this, up into the top 3 now. Adam Barron now leads the way. Bradley Kropp, following that bit of an excursion he had, is up into second place. Dan Cross is there in fourth. It's all changed. It's all completely changed.
We lost Stevens and Plasto while we were looking at the replay, and I have no idea what happened, but it looks like the two of them came together. So our race leading two, Stevens and Plasto, who were side by side for most of the lap before that, seem to have come to blows here, Chris, and they've dropped right down to the back of the field. So disastrous stuff for Championship leader Plasto and Championship favourite Ryan Martin. Meanwhile, Paulie side by side with Kropp all the way through the first corner, and Paulie now up to second place. He's going to run onto the gravel on the exit. McIntyre's cuts across as we head through Clark's. That was sketchy. And now everyone's being held up now behind Kropp, who's off his racing line, and Paulie makes a break for it. Meanwhile, I cannot take a breath because Finch is under pressure from Chambers, and then he always dumped Kropp as well. Unfortunately there, he was going late on the brakes. It was Cross, and he's actually, yes, it's Cross that's off. Meanwhile, oh, Finch has been turned around. I'm going to need to take a breath because everyone is going off and it's absolute chaos.
Jack Tramway was caught up into that. David Wrench is round as well. Oh my goodness, that got very ugly very quickly. So, oh wow. So this is what happened with Pete Plasto. So he's, where is he now? He's down into 11th. Well, he's now down at 11th. So, right, this is a replay of what happened with Pete Plasto. That's Tom Stevens on his inside line. So they did go side by side. Oh, there's not room for both of them. So the Porsche goes round, and then the Aston is unsettled, coming down on the right-hander. Look how far offline he's gone. That's the Rallycross circuit that's over there. So yeah, Aston is many things that he cannot do. Look at the state of it. He's carrying a lot of scenery with him. So, oh, Pete Plasto will be fuming in there. But look at Darren Berris now up into 6th position with the chaos and carnage that's gone on ahead. It's still anyone's race, though. One mistake can involve numerous cars, as we've seen time and again. It's still Barron from Paulie from Kropp, your top three.
Yeah, I mean, this is perfectly situated for Chris Paulie here to really make a statement in this championship fight, because he's now sitting second from the reverse grid, having won the first race. He's now less than a second off of Adam Barron, and he's got the pace advantage here. So Chris Paulie could potentially be looking at a double win here at Knockhill. And with Ryan Martin having his third disastrous weekend of the season, obviously not complete disaster, he's still got P2 in the first race, but a DNF or even a position 19 is not big points for Ryan Martin. This is going to seriously affect his championship, because that means he's had 3 bad rounds and there's 2 drop scores. Meanwhile, David Wrench is also in the pits and out of this race. Obviously, we saw him facing the wrong way earlier, along with John Finch, who seemed to get turned on the exit of Clark's, I think it was. Basically, it was just absolute chaos out there. I mean, I'm hearing as well from our producer that Finch has been involved in another incident. As we now see, he rejoins the track onto the hairpin, and no, he's got, I think, maybe got a bit of damage there on that Aston Martin, crawling back to the pit lane to retire. So more issues for Finch, who unfortunately started on the front row but did not end in such a lofty position. This is the chaos we saw earlier. So it was actually contact with Chambers that then bumped him into Berris and then put him off the track. We believe he's got broken suspension as well. And that was all kicking off. Meanwhile, we saw, I think it was Cross get dumped into the gravel the corner before because of an accidental out-braking manoeuvre from, was it Finch on the inside or Finch in the middle? Whoever was in the middle had problems. Meanwhile, in the background, you've got Trunwit off as well as Wrench. There's Cross returning from the gravel. All of this, by the way, was in like 2 corners on 1 lap. All of these replays we're seeing right now. It was absolute carnage out there. And this is the replay. So Finch, yeah, gets it wrong defending from Chambers and just dumps Cross. So really unfortunate there. Finch, obviously, his race has been ruined anyway from that. But Cross, the unlucky innocent victim on the outside.
Yeah, it was actually Pete Plasto that Finch bounced off of it that ended the bright green Aston's any hopes of continuing. So, Berris, a big part. I thought it was Plasto that he bounced off of. So it was actually Darren Berris, who was just kind of trying to mind his own business, but they were almost like 4 wide at that stage. As we look at Matty Chambers on the back of Bradley Kropp. So is the pink accented Mercedes going to make a move? Not this time, but very, very much hustling hard for his spot inside the top 3. What can he do against the Aston Martin? Sizes up a move on the inside line coming up towards Taylor's. Gets to the inside, commits to the apex. Can he get it slowed down? He does. Does he wrong foot the Aston? He tries to, but Bradley Kropp keeps his foot in it. They're still side by side. Chris Paulie with the new fastest lap of the race on their charge. So the Aston Martin noses back ahead, and Matty Chambers forces the Mercedes into what it's going to do. Sticks to the inside line, regains the position. Can he hold it? Bradley Kropp having a look at the inside again. Is he? Not quite. Oh, that would have been... Oh, but forces the mistake. Matty Chambers goes off onto the grass. But Bradley Kropp nowhere to use the momentum. It is kicking absolutely everywhere. Meanwhile, Adam Barron, whilst flirting with the dust, is hanging on to that lead by the merest margins. Pixels he's hanging on to that lead by.
I'll take over. You take a drink and a breath, Chris, and then we'll swap again. It's just non-stop right now. And yeah, Barron running into the gravel there, but basically Paulie not quite close enough. We've got Barron also flashing the headlights, so the back markers are coming into play now. Paulie eking ever closer. He's not going to get a move done here. He's going to have to set one up or try and force Barron into a mistake. But, you know, Paulie's got the outright pace here. So Paulie kind of has, let's say, you know, track position in the sense that he can place his car where he wants to, knowing he's got the pace to keep up and keep the pressure on Barron. So Barron's not going to be able to run away with this unless Paulie makes a major mistake. Look at Paulie's aggressive line through the chicane. He's actually going to try and force the move there, but you can just see there, even though Paulie had such a faster run through the chicane, because Barron didn't make a mistake on the exit, Paulie just wasn't close enough to do anything with it. And that's really the key here. If Barron can keep on avoiding those mistakes and then defend into this hairpin at the end of the lap here, Paulie's not really going to have a chance to make a move. So it's going to be interesting to keep an eye on how that develops. Just a quick shout out as well to Bradley Kropp's attempts to regain that position on the previous lap on Matty Chambers, because he really did try and force Matty into a mistake, kept the pressure fully on, and Chambers did run off, but didn't quite lose the position again to Kropp.
Oh, wow. Well, your turn to have a break now, John.
Thank you.
I'll take over the breathless Jesus. Oh, an exit stage left goes Sean Watson. He's exploring the area that Pete Blasto was going for an exploring. And again, exactly as you say, John, you've got Chris Paulie trying his best to just get the momentum advantage over the Porsche, trying to get Adam Barron out of sequence, but Adam Barron is parking his Porsche in the perfect positions, just not allowing any advantage against Chris Paulie. They're going to be side by side, but again, the inside line is going to be gifted to the 5. Oh, what an exit though from that final chicane, that final hairpin. That's going to bring them side by side. What has Adam Barron got? He's got half a car length trying to force the Mercedes onto the grass. Chris Paulie's having none of it. Gets a nose up into the lead, barely, but the Porsche's still there. They're still side by side as they come down the hill into McIntyre. So now Chris Paulie noses up into the lead, bullies his way past the Porsche. Oh my goodness, it took quite a few corners for that move to be concluded. Now it looks pretty conclusively in Chris Paulie's hands. Can he hold on to it? Adam Barron, I don't know that he's going to have the opportunity to attack back, but in saying that, less than 2 tenths between the two. He's got the momentum coming out of Clark. Is he going to bounce out the inside? Oh, it's now roles reversed. You've seen Chris Paulie having to defend. Is the Porsche going to get the up and under? Not on this occasion, but Adam Barron giving it everything he's got.
And swap. Paulie 2 tenths ahead of Barron then as the cross line. I mean, that was just sensational from both drivers, it has to be said. Great move from Paulie to set that one up on the way out of the hairpin with the switchback, but Barron kept it along the outside into Duffus Dip. They both left each other room. Hugely respectful stuff, and then Paulie eventually managed to gain the upper hand into McIntyre's and kind of rightfully took that position. Barron had nowhere really to go, and they can't run side by side through Clark's, it has to be said, or Butcher's I should say. So good stuff there. You could also see the hugely different lines between the two through the chicane. That's where Paulie's really gaining most of his lap time, but Barron could stay very close on the way into Clark's afterwards as well. So just great stuff all round, but now that Paulie's got that move done, I think, unless he makes a big mistake, it's going to be curtains for the race win. Chambers looking good for P3 as well, so these are really the battles we're going to be keeping an eye on here. It's Bradley Kropp versus James King, who's having a superb run in the McLaren, obviously taking advantage of others' mishaps, but still, to be sitting 5th, 7 places up from his starting position is no mean feat, and it could become 4th very quickly.
Very, very true. So, and already we've got less than 3 minutes to go. So someone pinch the checker flag, someone hide it. So we got another few laps of this race. This is absolutely fantastic. So something's happened with Matty Forrest. So he's in a bit of a group here. Oh, he's got the momentum, has he, on the number 4? Oh dear. So he ended up tripping over the Mercedes, did Matt Forrest. And that is what ended his race. That is a great shame. As we see James King on the back of Bradley Kropp. So James King having a, oh wow, that you could feel how uncomfortable that was. Coming out of Clark, the McLaren not enjoying that curb whatsoever. Riding on board then with the ex-BMW racer from last season, James King. What can he do in the McLaren? The Aston getting a little bit loose on the exit of Taylor's. So James King pushing and pushing and pushing, applying all the pressure he can. At the moment, Bradley Kropp is soaking up all the attention and holds on to 4th.
Just coming back to that incident we saw just a minute ago there. It looked like a simple misjudgment, really, from Forrest, just cutting across the nose of the Mercedes before he had the room, and unfortunately paid the price with the crash and the retirement. But yes, this is now the battle for P4. Look at the car jumping over the curb. James King maintaining the pressure behind Crop, and it's something that Ryan Martin mentioned during the interview. It's so difficult to actually follow someone directly closely behind through that chicane. And do keep an eye on Dan Cross as well, who's recovering now 6th place, just half a second off the back of King. You can not quite see him hidden behind that McLaren. We'll see him in a second as we turn in. There is the red-fronted Mercedes of Dan Cross. I've got lost in my words because of how close James King got to the back of Crop. Meanwhile, we've just seen a new fastest lap of the race for Chris Pauly out in front at 50.2. So he's now a second clear of Barron, and it's now a three-way scrap for P4. Brad Crop hanging on for dear life here to his 4th place position, having had a great start up in the lead, and then unfortunately threw that lead away at McIntyre's, but still on for a good result here if he can hang on for just another couple of minutes.
You don't get too desperate, Dan. He's got the pace to do it, just needs to time it right. James King now having to be very defensive to that very ever-present Mercedes right behind him. He gets a half-decent exit from Clark, but the Mercedes have got a much better one. They're side by side. James King has the inside line, and they nearly touch on the way towards Saders. So the Mercedes trying to outbrake the McLaren. Going to have the momentum. Is he? No, the traction fails on the exit of Saders. James King comes right across to slam the door in Dan Cross's face. So final lap has now been begun. Oh, it's all or nothing. Do or die, feast or famine for this particular battle for 4th.
He's going to try the undercut down in towards... Oh, can he make the move down the inside? Oh, it's close, but he can't quite do it through McIntyre's. Can he do it through Butcher's now? They're still side by side. King's going to go in the grass. Unfortunately, there's no line there for Cross to take. He loses the rear on the exit, but manages to hold on to it. Great stuff from those two. Meanwhile, what a sensational day as Ajewski spins for the 5th time out of the chicane. What a great day it is for Chris Pauly, who's going to take a double win here at Knockhill and absolutely throw himself head first into this championship fight.
Well and truly, and very well deserved. He was in a class of 2 with Ryan Martin, but with Ryan's very dramatic exit, was on his own for this one. So Adam Barron takes second. Matty Chambers, again, another podium for him in the 46 car. Very well deserved. Bradley Crop comes home in 4th. King does manage to hold on just about to 5th position ahead of Cross, with Darren Berris in 6th. Pete Plasto, Darren Berris in 7th. With Pete Plasto getting up to 8th position in the end. Ajewski 9. Tom Stevens rounds out the top 10. Ben Weston has 11th. Adrian Warmington 12th. Mark Gladwell 13. And Jack Trunwitt finishes out the last cars on the lead up. John Finch and Sean Watson, I believe, were still circulating towards the end, but were at least a lap down. So that is the results as you see them before any kinds of Stewart's intervention. But Chris Pauly, I bet he is grinning his head off with that. That was... Considering how far down the field he was, he started in 9th, and he said all he was going to do was keep it on the road. And a lot of the time, that is racing, just not being involved in incidents and letting everyone else jump off the road.
What we said before that race, Chris, if you keep your nose clean and just, maintain your composure, don't make any rash moves, you'll make your way forward around here. There will be other people making mistakes, and Chris Pauly had the pace to be able to afford to do that. And not only did he, make good positions, he actually made it all the way up into the lead and won the race from 9th on the grid. So it shows it can be done at Knockhill if you use your head and race well, and that is exactly what Chris Pauly has done today. Ryan Martin, another DNF, his 3rd of the season, and all that's going to do is close things up in terms of the championship. Just want to give a quick shout out as well to Ben Weston. P11, 6 places up from his starting spot. I think that's a fantastic result for the veteran Ben Weston, who's having a good season, but was fighting in the top 10 in that one. It was great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's one thing that the reverse grid race can give us is an opportunity to those that may not have the overall, the ultimate pace, but can then still give them an opportunity to really fight for some higher up positions. We have got one of our podium 3 ready to chat to us. It's a man we've spoken to many times. It's our 2nd place finisher. It's Adam Barron.
Good evening, gents.
Hello, Adam. Great to speak to you once again. Oh my God, did you have a lot of work to do?
Yeah, those pesky Mercs have a little bit more horsepower than my little Porsche. So yeah, I tried as best as I could to hold him off. But no, it was a good clean race. I didn't know what quite happened with the overtake there, but it's almost like we almost morphed into each other, where there was a bit of lag or whatever. I don't know. But no, good clean race. I'm very happy with that result. So yeah, all good.
Excellent stuff. So how do you feel this season has gone for you overall so far?
Oh, it's been tough. It's like I say, that it's been a step up again this year. So I mean, consistency's been good, but without a lack of outright podiums and race wins for myself. But looking at the championship table, it's all pretty good. I'm happy with where I am. But I say that I think the Mercs have just got a step ahead of everyone at the moment this year. So and like I say, you know, the class of field has gone up as well. But so yeah, so I'm reasonably happy.
It's Navarra next time out. How are you feeling heading towards that particular circuit?
I have absolutely no idea. It's one of those tracks I've never done before. So
I am right there with you. It will be my first time actually dealing with Navarra as well.
Yeah, well, I'm expecting fireworks. I think there's quite a lot of undulation and stuff like that. I don't know whether the Porsche will be suited for it. There's quite a lot of long straights and hard acceleration points. I thought Knockhill would be good for the Porsche, but like I say, the Mercs have enough grunt on the straight, so I don't know whether Navarra will be the same thing. But I'm looking forward to it.
Any questions, John?
Yeah, I mean, just tell us the overall thoughts on racing these cars around Knockhill, because we saw, you know, lots of drivers taking different lines through the chicane. We saw a lot of incidents, mistakes, a tricky track. But did you enjoy the experience overall?
Yeah, I remember doing Knockhill in the Toyota GR86s, but I've never done it in the GT4s. So it was a new experience for me, and it's just so hard to keep a clean lap after lap after lap, and seeing as well that obviously the chicane is the be all and end all of that circuit, and there's so many different variance lines and exit speed and entry speed. There's a lot to think of, and like I say, it was just more interesting to defend the characteristics of the Merc compared to the Porsche. It was really interesting, sort of chess game almost. But no, I enjoy it.
Awesome stuff. Well done again on a fine podium, Adam. It wasn't an easy one. You had to really fight for it. So we very much look forward to speaking to you again. It's always a pleasure to speak to you, and best of luck for the rest of the season. Thank you very much, Adam Barron.
Cheers, gents. See you next week.
Yes, you certainly will see us next week, sir. Right, a double victory for the one and only Chris Pauly. Chris, are you with us?
Good evening.
There he is. Well, considering your main aim was just to keep it on the road, that you certainly did. But yeah, you had to fight for the getting past that pesky number 5 Porsche.
Yeah, it was a bit of a robust move actually. So we'll see what Adam thinks of that. He put up such a good defence, and I didn't expect him to hold it all the way around. So yeah, great result. Obviously.
Neither did we, to be fair.
Oh my goodness me. But yeah, I mean, it was such a chaotic race. Were there a few times where you were just like, oh, clinch?
Yeah, and I don't know what happened to everyone in that race. I just kind of was slowly picking off the places without really doing anything. So, but obviously Adam was quick at the front, so he was hard to catch.
And it's Navarra next time out. How are you feeling ahead of that circuit?
I don't know it that well, to be honest. I'll probably need to put 100 laps of practice in that one. That seems to work tonight, doesn't it? So, yeah, maybe that's the secret. But yeah, I don't know. If it rains, I've driven it in the wet and I enjoyed it, so maybe a bit of rain would help.
You heard it here first, folks. If it's raining, it's this man's fault. Any questions, John?
Yeah, I mean, you may or may not have noticed, but Ryan Martin had another incident in that race and had a DNF. I'm sure you would have been aware. In terms of the championship, you've spoken earlier in the season that you're just plodding along, picking up as many consistent, good results, podium finishes as possible, keeping the pressure on him. But this weekend, you put in the practice. You were quicker than Ryan outright, even if only by a tenth or so. And he's made, another mistake. So that's 3 DNFs for him now. And you've been super, super consistent despite missing that round at Lime Rock. So, I mean, are you feeling really on for the championship fight now? Because from our perspective, I think you're right in the mix.
Yeah, I went into this race again knowing that Ryan had kind of used his 2 drop scores, so he couldn't really afford to make a mistake. And obviously, if he had today, that could have massive implications. And I think Pete's in a really strong place because he has scored pretty consistently and hasn't missed a round. So I think actually me and Pete are relatively close once you take drop scores into account. So yeah, we'll see. It's obviously hard to know really until kind of the it won't be till the 9th race really where we get an idea of where we actually sit. But yeah, I just keep trying to pick good results up, keep trying to, not get involved in anything too serious, and we'll see how it goes at the end of the season.
We certainly will, and we very much look forward to seeing your progress along with everybody else as we head towards the tail end of the season. Brilliant double win, Chris. Absolute class of the field. Very, very well deserved. And just to go again, you're proving that practice really does make poorly. On that note, thank you.
That was worse than my crop earlier, just saying.
I'm guilty as charged, and I'll take full responsibility for it. Thank you very much, Chris Pauling. I'm not actually. I'm not being sorry for that at all. And that's going to bring an end to tonight's festivities. Thank you very much to those that have been with us, either live or post-event. Your presence is always welcome. Thank you very much, John Monroe. You're now slightly insulted by my terrible jokes, which I'm not sorry for, but it's always a pleasure to be alongside you in the box.
I've got a week to forgive you, Chris. It'll be all right. No, that was great fun. I mean, I feel like I'm losing my voice after that second race. It was just constant excitement, and it's been really, really fun to witness that race. And I'm sure the drivers will enjoy watching it back. Navarra next week is an unknown for all of us, I think. So I'm excited to see what that kind of a new track is going to bring to the series. Big thank you as well to Tom behind the scenes, and just look forward to another race next week. And obviously it's the business end of the season now, so it's really getting exciting in terms of the championship, and all that tonight has done is increase the heat on that.
Very, very much so. It's going to be a real nail-biting finish to this season. We still have a few weeks to go before we get there, though, so we hope you'll join us for the ride. Until next time, thank you very much, and good night!